good evening and a very warm welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios here in downtown Colombo. Good evening, Bandula, and how are you today?
Good evening, Faraz.
Are you well?
Yeah, very much.
Excellent. A few items that are being discussed today. The Tajuddin exhumation, the application by the CID to exhume Wasim Tajuddin's body. The Bharata Lakshman case has been referred to a trial at bar, so that's progress. And Lakshman Vasanta Pereira has been released on bail. Sajin Vaskunawardena remains in remand. And Ranil Wickremesinghe says that a new constitution is required for the country. He didn't say if he needed a new constitution for the United National Party. And Mahinda Rajapaksa, the candidate from Kurunegala, says that the underworld is back via the government this time. And the Golden Key matter has reached conclusion with the withdrawal of the case and the government agreeing to pay the depositors some of the money. Bandula, I want to ask you this before we forget all about it. Cast your mind back to the tsunami.
Yes.
Didn't the president then say that she was going to adopt a tsunami girl?
Yes, I remember, Faraz, that I wrote that to the island also, that she said after the tsunami she will adopt a girl from the minority community. And then her spokesman also spoke to BBC. And I wrote this piece after 8 months where she became a tsunami girl. We haven't heard since then.
Perhaps the next time you meet her, you'll ask her. Will you do that?
I will try to, but I don't know if we'll get a chance to meet. I mean, for me, their history.
I see. All right. Let's introduce our guest this evening, Mr. Krishmal Varunasuriya, lawyer and JVP candidate on the national list. Good evening and welcome, Krishmal.
Good evening, Faraz. Good evening, Bandula. Good to be on the show.
Thank you for being with us. As a lawyer, you might want to help us with understanding this application to exhume Wasim Tajuddin's body. Why now? I mean, 3 years. Can't they get on with it and let them grieve?
Well, I suppose from a social aspect of it, that would be the ideal thing to do. But then what happens for us is that when evidence is brought before a magistrate that either the previous examinations have been not done correctly, or the investigations have been improperly conducted, as we hear on this occasion. I don't want to speculate on what we hear on the media, but there are reports that the victim was found with nails or holes made by objects that may have been nails, then teeth being pulled out or nails being pulled out. If these are things that have subsequently come to light, then it's the duty of the law to ensure that a proper investigation is done. So that probably is the reason.
But, Bandula, shocking, isn't it, that the family aren't being allowed to get on, have closure, grieve, and all because of a very half-baked, lopsided, disgraceful investigation, clearly.
Yeah, that's true for us. But again, don't you think in this country, I'm sure Krishmal could be enlighten us as a lawyer, but there's so many cases in this country hasn't come to a closure. So many for years. How many? I mean, especially the some political related or murders. I mean, like recently we spoke about Lasanta Vikram case. It's going on and on. So there has to be justice to a lot of people. I am not sure even with the Lakshman Kadragama case has come to an end. I don't know. There are so many.
May I just add something? This is, once again, I know that I'm a JVP candidate on national list, but this is why we're speaking of a complete overhaul of the judicial process. And I contributed a little bit into that policy angle of it. Because you see, the people, it's a people's power. And for us, it's a people's sovereign power. One of it is the judicial power. They vest it in the judicial system of courts and tribunals, etc. Now, we need to seriously ask ourselves the question, for the last 67 years, has your judicial power served you well? And if it hasn't,
that's true.
if our cases are dragging on and on for years, if people without actually going through trial are being incarcerated in remand prison, and sometimes for 15, 20 years, and then finally, even for a 3-year offence that they may have faced, had they been found guilty, they have been serving much more time in prison awaiting trial.
And
which is why this bail thing comes in. You were talking of bail earlier for us. So because of that presumption of innocence, that one is presumed innocent until proven guilty, the judges have no option, knowing that this man is going to face remand prison for years and years, send you out on bail.
And also with some judges and former chief justices playing politics.
Being a lawyer,
I said former. I said former.
Well, we don't want to get into too much of that controversy, but Krishmal, isn't it true that there's a backlog of about 900,000 cases last year in the court system? And I did a quick calculation. The courts work till 3 o'clock every day, Monday to Friday. If they work till 5 o'clock, they'll get 40% more work done.
Correct.
Yes?
Courts,
is that right?
Courts don't work till 3 o'clock Monday to Friday. I'm sorry to say as a lawyer.
What time do they work?
Exactly.
Till?
Now we have started. I must congratulate the present Chief Justice and some people who served before. We actually now have afternoon sessions. Now I remember being a pupil barrister in London. We actually work till 3:30. We come to chambers, work till 5 and come home. But here in the Supreme Court, I'm sometimes home by 11, 11:30. I go to court at 10. Sometimes your case is never taken up.
So what's happening now?
Well, now we are trying to work even in the afternoon, take a break for lunch and go on till the afternoon. But still, that's in the Supreme Court. From what I hear in the district courts and the lower courts, I wouldn't know of courts that actually sit till 3. Let me put it that way. And safe. And also, 900,000, I'm not sure of the figure. But if that is so,
it's just under 900,000.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I am seriously thinking there has to be a whole revamping of the system for us. Relook at it. How many hours do we work? Perhaps even more courts, more judges. Right. We need to get out of the backlog.
Thank you. We'll take a quick break and do join us back here on Newsline. Welcome back to Newsline. Bandula, shall we ask Krishmal why anybody should vote for the JVP? Krishmal, why should we vote for the JVP?
Why shouldn't? 67 years you have been voting for green and blue and blue and green. Once again the same question. Has it served the purpose? Has the people of this country looked at, let me put everything in a nutshell. It's a pyramid for us. There is a 20% elite right up there that enjoys 55-56% of the national wealth. Then there's a 20% right at the bottom who have only about 4.5 to 5% of the wealth to go around. There is a large economic disparity. All our problems, may it be corruption, may it be thuggery, drugs, murder, swindling, or even basic inability to feed your children, all arise from this economic disparity. There is a quest for social justice. And if the last 67 years policies haven't worked, isn't it time for people to look at a new approach? We have a policy. We call it the Code of Conscience, or it's a social contract that is formed with people over the years.
It's a long way from Maranaya.
Yes, long way from it. It's a new approach, it's a new look JVP. Otherwise, people like us also may not be involved in it. So I say, why not?
But can you form a government?
We will form a government in 2020, but not in 10 days. Okay. In 10 days, we're going to go in with a fair number in opposition.
What is fair?
I will give it a fairly liberal. I don't want to go in for numbers, but I would. We have.
No, give us the. Give us the number.
No, I know you almost caught me with the number there, but no, we have 3 in Parliament now. Yeah. But just imagine what we would be able to do. Try and guess the number in this. What we would be able to do between, say, 10, 15, 20 people in Parliament. I think we should have fair representation this time.
What did you all do the last time with the Cho went in power? Didn't do much.
Well, the last time was an entirely different scenario, wasn't it? Last time, the JVP, of course I was not a member, nor was I involved in the party then, so I'm probably not the best person to talk about. But from what I know, the last time was a different scenario. They went in to support or strengthen the hand of a president who was trying to fight a war. But then when it came to a situation where it was not working, then they had no option but to leave.
But the Mahanayakas said recently that JVP will always do well in the opposition. What are you going to say to that, Krishma?
Bandula, I think the Mahanayakas...
When Anura Kumara went to say...
No, I was well aware of it. I think the Mahanayakas, the most venerable Mahanayakas, have also looked at the fact that we are a fairly relatively young unit, Bandula, compared to present company. So, giving us a few more years to get experience, 2020, you will see the Mahanayakas will have, I'm sure, a different picture when we are ready to form a government.
So in the meantime, you're going happy to sit in the opposition?
No, in the meantime, we're going to be very seriously working in being a government behind the government, making sure that governance is for the people, for the benefit of the people, and that no one in that, I can assure this country this, you send a fair number of us into parliament. You have seen what we have done with 3 people. Who is it that shouts all the time for corruption? Who is it that takes on public issues all the time? We, even though we have 3 members in parliament, you send 10-15 of us in parliament, and we will show this country as to how you can really make an effect on anyone who comes.
Very powerful words, but what happened during President Kumaratunga's time? People sent a fair number of the JVPs to parliament then.
Yep.
What happened? It was all up in the air.
No, but I disagree with you, Faraj. I think the present leader of the party, Comrade Kumar Sanayaka, was given a fairly comprehensive ministry at the time. He performed fairly well. So did his deputy, I believe, was Comrade Vimal Ratnayak. He did fairly well. And the few months that they worked, I believe they have performed. So I disagree with you. But yeah.
But now, in the recent past, your comrade Anura Kumara worked very closely with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. So much so that he was known as the Red Elephant. What happened?
Unfair comment, Bandula. I mean, if that was so, in that case, and I might be also categorized as Red Elephant because I was also invited for one of those first few meetings in drafting the 19th Amendment. After the invitation never came from Temple Reach, I also didn't go to call them. I don't know for what reason. But I was also a part of the few people who sat on the 19th Amendment draft at Temple Reach first. So, but that doesn't make me a Red Elephant or any other elephant for that matter. It's a contribution that we can make towards a process. Because on the 8th of January, we were also, I mean, then I was only being active as a lawyer, not in any party politics. But we made a change. The people of this country, no one else, no party made that change. The people in their numbers made a change. So it was then both Comrade Sanayaka's, mine and yours and everyone else's duty to try and do what we can within the restrictions that we had to make a better government. Obviously, we didn't do as good as we thought we will. But then this does not end the story. We need to build from there.
I need to ask you, I think you have 3 members in parliament.
Yeah.
What do they do with the grants that they get?
The party has a very strict discipline on all earnings that are received while serving in public office.
So what do they do with the grants? It's not really earnings, is it? It's meant to develop your
To be entirely honest, I haven't even gone beyond that basic discussion with them. I mean, very honest with you. Because no sooner it was even in the central discussion, I said, look, I have come to serve, having practiced for a while, and with what little I earn, I can manage to feed my 2 children and my wife. So this question doesn't arise for me. If that there is a party discipline on what I would, if I end up in parliament, what I may earn or get a grant of. As to what the party decides to do with it, I will look at it at that time. But I technically wouldn't know how to give you an exact answer. But I know that they do not take any earnings. It goes to a party consolidated fund like this. But there are other areas that the party looks after them in what they need. So
right.
First, have you noticed now? I mean, I remember some time ago when Vimal Veeravansa went for a haircut at Taj, right? He was criticized. But now the Red Comrades have come a long way with a lawyer like Krishmal, a golf playing, Jaguar driving.
Jaguar driving.
They come a long way. They come a long way.
But it's refreshing that
it's very welcoming.
But Bandula, it's refreshing that he went to the only school worth going to, St. Thomas's.
I wouldn't comment on that.
Well, can I just come on that? And, the earlier pyramid Faraz I was talking of, where this disparity exists. My question is, should it always be then the proletariat right at the bottom fighting the struggle? Don't people like you, me and Faraz have a role to play in that struggle? Why should it only be the downtrodden masses fighting the struggle for social justice? Why not us? Why not the golf playing, Jaguar driving Thomian that you talk of?
Yeah.
Or for that
So
matter,
it's really, what I say is really welcoming.
I need to bring this thing in, and as a lawyer, you might help us to understand this. Cast your minds back to something called Golden Key, right? Cast your mind back down south to someone called Daduang Mudalali. Lalit Kotalawala at Golden Key, Daduang Mudalali in Tangor. One wears a sarong, the other wears the trousers. Why is it that the Golden Key depositors are now getting repaid by the state, by state funds, and Daduang Mudalali's depositors, for they were also depositors in this pyramid scheme, are not getting paid anything, but he's got assets too.
long answer, short answer, which one do you want?
Give us a medium answer.
All right. The central bank making payments on the Golden Key depositors come in this way. I know that because I was also involved in some of those litigations. I appeared for one of those companies in the Golden Key cases. There is a duty cast upon the regulator within the Republic. As I said, once again, going back to people's sovereign power. When people vest their sovereign power, administration and executive government, there is an element of regulatory network or regulation that the people expect the state to do through whatever mechanism, in this case, central bank. Now, the argument in the Supreme Court was that the central bank has failed, or the monetary board have failed in the regulatory aspect, that they have allowed this company to amass this massive wealth in corporate wealth, at the same time cheating out on the depositors and not making the payments, and therefore the failure by the state via the monetary board amounted to a violation of fundamental right, and that is how they went to the Supreme Court.
So, okay.
And Daduang Mudalali, the central bank perhaps didn't regulate. Maybe there was no need for the central bank to regulate, or maybe someone actually did, but I don't know.
We'll come back to this in a minute, because
but then no one went to the Supreme Court against Daduang Mudalali.
we'll go for a short break and rejoin Newsline shortly. Welcome back to Newsline with Bandula Jayasekara and Krishmal Varnasurya. Going back to that Golden Key matter, what's the difference? Why should the central bank pay one or the other? You said that one needed regulation. Why did Golden Key need regulation? They were merely a charge card company.
No, everyone dealing with the public finances in that aspect need regulation. But why the central bank was compelled to pay was because this set of depositors went and agitated their judicial power via the constitution in the Supreme Court.
Right.
In the other case, I don't know whether anyone actually went to the Supreme Court and tried the same angle, or whether they didn't. But if they had come to the Supreme Court, then possibly they may have taken the same view.
A bit of free advice as a lawyer to them.
Lawyers never give free advice.
Right, but just help us on this matter. Can they go to the Supreme Court now, Daduang's people?
I am, Bandula, ethically prohibited from touting business.
Yeah, but for us, I have a question. Now the then opposition used Mr. Kotalawala, right, to attack the previous government, right? I mean, he came on platform, he criticized them. And then this happens, I'm talking to as a layman, and then this happens, and like you said, used the public money and paid them. So I have certain doubts about it.
Well,
why?
The doubt is that there seems to be a suspicious
Elections
order
are coming,
because elections are here.
How do you see as a JVP nationalist member, not as a lawyer?
Of people.
You aspire to rule this country, so how do you see that?
No, how do I see what
this situation? They used Mr. Kotalawala to, attack the previous government, and then all this. Now they solved it, they sort this out very fast and using public money.
Yes, they use
but when you say they use Mr. Kotalawala to attack
the previous opposition, I'm talking of, and then he came on TV and said, oh, my properties were taken, and there were some attacks and much.
But don't you believe, I'm sure, Bandula, you and Faraz being senior journalists, you see much more than I do. There's a lot of politics in this, the whole thing, isn't there? I mean,
that's what
we're asking.
That's what we're saying.
No, so I don't have a yes or no answer to that. If anyone is using the legal process, judicial process of politics, I disagree with that entirely. And I see that, yes, I agree with you.
But we had more talk, Krishmal, about the money, like Faraz mentioned.
Yes.
This is our money, this is public money, funds.
But may I only say that during the settlement, I also was privy to some of it. Some of the settlement monies were going to be taken back by selling off some of the assets that were then held by the Supreme Court, Mr. Kothalawala's assets.
Yeah.
So it's not technically the government paying, just the government might loan it. The way
But Faraz, you have something about
actually, they have, this is it. The government is going to be paying out approximately 8.5 billion rupees to Golden Key deposits. This is the 41%. The Golden Key and its subsidiaries' assets at best will be 2 billion.
Yeah.
So the Treasury,
Yeah.
God help them,
Yeah.
have got a deficit of 6.5 billion. It sounds to me very much...
I agree with you absolutely. This is not monies that public, us, you and me, should be paying either the depositors or Mr. Kothalawala for that matter, with these state funds.
Perhaps, just to be on a small lighter note, perhaps the money that was appropriated from the Treasury bond scam should go to pay for this. That might be more palatable.
You have very kind thoughts for us.
No comment.
Yeah, it is Faraz.
No FT, no comment. I think on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much, Krishmal, for having joined us. It's been a pleasure having you.
Good being here. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Bandula,
Thank you,
as
Faraz.
ever, for your graceful presence.
Thank you very much.
And let's leave you with a small thought for the evening. It's not what you're made of. It's about what you're made of, not the circumstances. On that note, have a good evening and God bless you.